Hi, this is Jim Darling. This is a special edition of Meeting with the Mayor. We call it the Census Edition, and we're very lucky to have State Representative Terry Canales, who's also chairman of the Transportation Committee in the legislature, and so welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here. I wish we didn't have to have these masks on, but this is the way we've got to do things now.
Yeah, stay masked and 6 feet apart, and we'll overcome this pandemic, and we just all got to be smart about it. Absolutely, sir.
Absolutely.
You know, I was looking at the numbers when we talk about the census, and when it comes to federal dollars, census is so important. I notice for transportation, transportation dollars are based on several things, but one is population, and census population. And for instance, 2016, you know this number, we got $3.3 billion for highway planning and construction. That's 1 year based on the census.
That's 1 year's worth of funding. Based on our population. So the people need to understand when it comes to bridges, highways, roads, getting to and from work, safety, infrastructure, all the way around, getting counted truly counts. It's something that we need to recognize the importance because it is something that our community has to have. We need it to function. And so I've been talking to numbers of legislators and people across the community saying the importance of getting counted for transportation is unparalleled.
That's right. You know, and just think about the MPO merger, which you had very, very instrumental in getting done.
Exactly.
Was just getting over that census number and meant billions of dollars of extra money in the valley.
Exactly. So we just recently merged the MPOs, and because of the merger, our population count is much larger because of the surface area that we cover. More people, more funding.
Right. So if you're sitting in traffic and you're complaining and you haven't done the census, you have nobody to blame except for yourself.
That's right. If you want to get out of traffic, if you want to better infrastructure, you know, if you ever sit around and wonder, what can I do for my community? What can I do to help? Get counted. Get counted because you do count.
And you know, and one of the other things, and especially in our area with the number of low-income population that we have, is health-related items are based on census. And so SNAP and child care, Medicare, Medicaid is all census-based, and so it's so important to participate.
Correct. So not only those very, very important programs, but apportionment in itself. The United States Congress has the House of Representatives, and nobody has a claim to those seats other than the population. And so the more people that we have registered, the more representation that we have in Congress. And so if you want to be properly represented, get counted.
Now, the way that works is the state legislature does the apportionment and decides congressional districts, and so that's going to be coming up when the state has to use a census for that, and not necessarily this session, it'll be the session after that, but at any rate, that's so important that we have representation in the valley. And so explain workers a little bit how that works and based on population.
So our districts are based on population, and so every 10 years, we go through redistricting. Because this session and because of COVID, the census is going to be delayed and the results are going to be delayed. So we probably won't get to redistricting during the regular session, but we'll hold a special session. And so even my district, District 40, will get redrawn. And so if you look at how the lines are drawn, you see people say, well, how are they drawn? Well, some of it's politically based, but the majority of it is population based. And so how you're represented, how many representatives are in the state of Texas, congressionally and by the state, those lines are drawn based on population. And so getting counted is paramount.
And those are like raw numbers, you know, and so it's not necessarily the number of voters in the district, it's raw numbers based on the census population that's important.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely, Mayor. You hit the nail on the head. It's raw numbers. And so the more population, the more representation.
Now, one of the things that I know you were very critical of was initially they wanted to put this citizenship on the census, and people were afraid of the ramifications of that. That's not the case now. That was taken out. You don't have to worry about that at all.
People need to understand that that was a huge, I guess, political battle, whether we were going to ask for citizenship and or immigration status, which had never been done. And so that is not on there. Your information is completely confidential, completely private, It is completely secured, and so there's no fear in filling out the census. The fact is, there's no legal reason that somebody shouldn't fill out the census. There should be no fear, and you should do it willingly because it's going to help you.
And the Federal Census Bureau can't share it with anybody else. It's just give us the number.
Correct. That's it. It's just as simple as counting.
And get out there and be part of the number and be counted. You know, it's so important. I thought, if you look at these numbers, billions of dollars, maybe we're talking about too much money, but just under the FEMAP program, which is a medical program, the state got $1,100 per person and for 1 year. And so you thought about that. If say Sam's was giving out $1,000 gift certificates, you'd have lines around the building.
Exactly.
Well, this is just thinking that number. Just for 1 year, the census is $1,100 per person. And so if you have 100 people that didn't do it, that's $161,000 that don't go to health care in our community.
To your community. And I guess that becomes the problem, or people don't realize it, because it's not something tangible. It's not a check you got in the mail, but it's all around you. The funding is all around you, from the health care to housing to your infrastructure. It's about $675 billion that the federal government distributes based on population. So getting counted means we get our fair share.
Yeah, especially in education is so important too, because the federal money that comes down is not only based on student numbers in that school, but based on population too. So the basis for all funding is basic population, and then participants is secondary.
And one of the most important things that people and everybody, and unfortunately we've got to deal with, is emergency responders. And that funding is also based on population. So your first responders, your police funding, a lot of that stuff is based on census information. And so when you need them, they're there, and they're there because people eventually got counted.
Don't be waiting for the ambulance and say, oh man, I didn't do my census.
That's exactly right.
And everything counts. Too many people say, well, somebody else would do it. That's not the way the census works. Almost of anything, that's not the way it works. But the census, if you don't count, you don't count, and it has ramifications for everybody.
And it's really easy, Mayor. It's really easy. People need to understand you can do it online. You can do it over the telephone. You can do it at your papers if you don't have it in your mail. It's not too late. You can still do it. Please get it done.
All of our community centers and the libraries in McAllen have a place you can come in. You can do it by paper over in the internet, and they'll have somebody help you. And if you don't know where to go or how to do it, you call up 681-4900 here at the city, and we'll have somebody answer the phone like these people right here and tell you how to get hooked up. And it only takes, I say 10 minutes, but that's actually probably long.
That's probably a little bit long.
Yeah.
So I was going to tell you, when you asked about transportation, my office just recently led the charge with James Bass of TxDOT. And so you're going to see the Texas transportation signs, those digital signs that you see on the road. They're going to be reminding you. We asked the TxDOT because it has to do with TxDOT funding, infrastructure funding. So when you see those signs and you haven't done it, it means count. So on the road, you've got two priorities. Be safe and get counted. So
when you see it, don't pull over and do it. Don't be doing it on the highway. But that's a great reminder. And we have to September 30th, so don't think, a lot of times when you give people 5 months to do it, they're going to wait till the end.
That's right.
Early voting and voting. Do it now, because don't wait till the last day to do it, because you're going to get busy and forget. And so now is the time to do it today. Do it today. Don't
do it
put
today.
It
really is your job. It really is for your community. It really is what you can do to help your community. It doesn't take long, and you're going to feel good about doing it. So don't hesitate. Don't wait. Get counted.
Absolutely. And it's so important. So this has been Meeting with the Mayor. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you for having me, Mayor.
Chairman. And keep doing the great work you do for us in Austin, and your leadership's been very important to us. So.
Likewise, Mayor. Thank you for having me. Thank you for leading the charge, always on public safety, public health, and here with the councilmen and women of McAllen and the members here that are getting people counted. Thank you for all that you do.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you, and complete the census.
Get it done. Get counted.